Assalamu alaikum. What is the method to re-establish the Khilafah, and how is this fard obligation accomplished for someone living in the West? Of course, the obligation of Khilafah, establishing Islam in the society, is agreed upon. It's qat'i. And we don't need to discuss about that. We don't need to give evidences. But how to do it is a dhanni issue. It is based on ijtihad. So some, after the fall of the Uthmani Khilafah, the famous Muslim movements, they all had this vision of re-establishing Islam in the society, politically, socially, economically, in education, and all of this. A mistake which we do is we only, in the political activists who have this dream of Khilafah, they only restrict it to the political change in the Ummah. This is a mistake. Islam will be established as a whole. We need a civilizational change, and it involves all aspects. We must be best in ulum. We must be in economy. If our economy is disastrous and we have changed politically, it will not help. So we have to recreate a civilization, and it was not only about political dominance in the past. Islam was a civilization. So civilization has all these aspects. Don't restrict it to only political change. So the scholars can disagree, the reformers can disagree. As an individual, I should do what I'm capable of with having this vision for Khilafah, and it's a big dream. It's not recreating Islamic civilization and actualizing its dominance in the world is a big dream. It's not something small. And we are not weak only in the political domain. We don't say that we are facing problems because only of rulers. We don't have good rulers. We lack good leadership. No, we have problems in all affairs. We have problems on ground level in the Ummah. Okay, so you will see, for example, the movements which are usually considered apolitical, like Jama'atul Tabligh, apolitical. They only talk about the grave and the heavens. They have nothing to do with the ground reality, a political organization. Even these types of movements, if you read the original sources of these movements, like the propounder of this movement, Maulana Ilyas, if you read his works, Malfuzat, for example, his Malfuzat, and it has been compiled by some scholars, you will see the political agenda is present there. He talks about jihad, he talks about the political reform of the Ummah, but he's focused on the methodology. He says it cannot be achieved unless we change on ground. We have to change morally, we have to change in our practice of Islam, we have to connect with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on ground as an Ummah, on individual level. And when it is achieved, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will change our condition. He does not deny. I gave this example because these types of jama'at, they are considered apolitical. And if this is the case with jama'at, which are considered apolitical, what about the straightforward jama'at like Jama'at Islami and other jama'at, which stood for the political change of the Ummah? So after the fall of the Khilafah Uthmaniyya, these religious movements, they all tried their best to create a change. Some have failed, some have fossilized. We need a new reform, so on and so forth. The intellectuals of the Ummah have to think about the methodology, rethink, reform, revisit the mistakes which we have done in the past. So this is for the scholars to decide, and they apply it on ground, because it's ijtihad after all, and it can go wrong. We are mukallaf of ijtihad. Wahi has stopped, and we will base our understanding on the waqi', on the reality of the Ummah, on Quran and Sunnah. We will understand it and apply. It can succeed, it can fail, but we are mukallaf of we're responsible of the effort. We're not responsible for the change. The change only comes from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another important point which I want to highlight here is the utopian understanding of Khilafah. Yani, we want a system or Khalifa which rules all Muslims, or we don't want anything lesser than that. This is a problem. We forget about the steps leading to that and contributing in those steps. And in order to construct the last step of a staircase or a ladder, we have to begin from the foundation, and we cannot reach the end until we take the first steps. So we have to, I'm not a political thinker, but this is about principles. The political thinkers in the Ummah, those who stand for reform, the Jama'at, their leaders, the political activists, they have to think about this. So we may take small steps, which may not look like the utopian Khilafah, but these steps eventually will lead to the Khilafah. For example, what is happening in the Muslim world, yani we are in the times of nation states. We cannot ignore it. Nation states. So some Muslim countries are in shambles, some are completely in the Western bloc, some are in the middle. We have to understand the geopolitics so that we carve a methodology for that. We strengthen the countries which are more near. They're not perfect, but they have an Islamic agenda. And the countries which have fallen into the Western bloc, how to take out these countries from or how to reform the political scenario in those countries, so on and so forth. Eventually, there may come a time, for example, if we have 5, 6 big countries which are stable economically, Muslim countries, politically, and they share the vision, at least at the basic level, eventually this coalition may become, or it may be a spark towards the political change in the Ummah, towards the Khilafah. So the problem is we live in utopia. We want Khilafah and we don't want lesser than that. Yani, this is good, no one denies it. It's based on the text. The Prophet ﷺ has given us the good news of Khilafah. But what about the middle path? Yani, what about the steps towards the Khilafah? We ignore. We're not ready to take that. Okay. And we deny any movement, any government which is taking the steps, which is, and of course, as I said, the change comes from only Allah. You may devise a plan which involves 5 steps for your life, and you achieve those 5 steps, and you don't know what is going to happen after that. And you leave this dunya, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brings the next generation who completes this project. So we have to, of course, we have to plan for future. We have to plan for 100 years, 200 years. We must have a short-term and a long-term plan. But this is how we should understand the principles.